All right, so for the last part of this unit, we are going to predict the product side for a synthesis reaction, a decomposition, and a combustion. So, in order to do this, we, have to think about the synthesis reaction, which means putting together. So that means this element and this element has to be put together. Now, just because there's a 2 beside the oxygen does not mean it goes with it. So let's look. We're going to put Mg and O together. To figure out the formula, we have to put their charges. So if we look on the periodic table, magnesium is +2 and oxygen is -2. So that's the right formula. Then we're going to balance, and I see that oxygen has 2. This oxygen is 1. So we're going to put a coefficient 2 in front of that, which makes magnesium 2. So now I need to make this magnesium 2. So now we have a balanced synthesis reaction. All right, here we have decomposition, which we know means breaking apart. So here's our compound. So we're going to break apart the mercury, Hg, plus oxygen, and we can't leave oxygen as O because it's a diatomic, so we always put a 2 by the oxygen. Hg is not a diatomic, so we don't do that. So now we can balance. So O is 1 over this side. There are 2 O's here. So I'm going to put a coefficient 2 to make that oxygen 2, which now makes mercury 2, and then I'll put a 2 here. In your combustion reaction, you always have a hydrocarbon plus an oxygen, which always will yield a carbon dioxide plus a water. And then we are going to balance. Hydrogen is 4. This hydrogen is 2. So we'll have to put 2 times 2 is 4. And then our oxygens, we have 2 oxygens on this side of the plus sign, and we have 2 oxygens here. So 2 plus 2 is 4. So in order to make 4 over here, we'll put a 2 there. So we put our 2 in front of that oxygen. Now we have 4. So that's your balanced equation for a combustion reaction. All right, we're going to move to some examples. So if you'll stop the video, try these 3, and then you can come back and get the answers. All right, so we have an element plus an element, so we need to put them together. So that's LiCl. Now again, just because there's a 2 there doesn't mean we bring the 2 with it. We have to, when we put lithium and chlorine together, we have to use the charges. Lithium is +1 because it's in group 1. Chlorine is -1 because it's in group 17. So that is fine. That is your formula. Now we see that we do have 2 chlorines and there's only 1 chlorine. So I'm going to put a coefficient 2. So now that means we have 2 lithiums and 2 chlorines. And over here we only have 1 lithium. So I'm going to put a 2 there. All right, we have 1 compound, so that means we need to break it up. So then we're going to put hydrogen plus oxygen. Now, because hydrogen and oxygen are diatomic molecules, we have to put a 2 there and a 2 there. Now, just because the 2 is here, that is not the reason why I brought that over. It's because hydrogen is one of your 7 diatomics. Now, to balance this, we have 2 oxygens and only 1 on this side. So the only way I can make 2 oxygen is put a 2 in front of the whole thing, which then changes my hydrogen to 4. So now I need to put a 2 here. And so 2 times 2 is 4. Now we have a hydrocarbon plus an oxygen, so that always will equal a carbon dioxide plus a water. Now we balance, and we see we have 2 carbons, so I'm going to put a 2 here. And then let's look at our hydrogens. We have 6, so I'm going to put a 3 here. Now that works out great. On this side we have 2 oxygens. Let's see how much we have on this side. We have 2 times 2, which gives me 4, plus 3 times 1 is 3. Well, that's 7. There's nothing plus or times 2 that will give us 7. So when that happens, that means I am going to have to put a coefficient in front of this C2H6. And then you always start with your lowest coefficient, which is 2. So now we have 2 times 2 is 4. So we have 4 carbons now. So we're going to erase that coefficient of a 2. And I'm going to put a 4. And then that also changes your hydrogens. 2 times 6 is 12. So I'm going to erase my 3. And I'm going to put a 6. All right. So now we're going to recount our oxygens. 4 times 2 is 8 oxygens. So now we have 8 with the carbon dioxide. 6 and 1 oxygen. So that changes to a 6, which that gives us 14. Well, now we can put a 7 here. So 7 times 2 is 14. So there's your balanced combustion reaction.